A majority of Americans believe that the ICE agent who killed Renee Good back in January used unnecessary and excessive force. But of course, Trump's DOJ and FBI are dragging their heels with the investigation, so much so that even senior Department of Homeland Security officials are now speaking off the record to PunchUp, saying that the fact that the FBI has dragged the investigation so much that even ICE cannot do their own internal investigation. This has resulted in the fact that the person who killed Renee Good is still on active duty. My name is Dina Doll with the MeidasTouch Network. Let's get into this. According to the senior official speaking to PunchUp, Jonathan Ross was only placed on leave for 3 days and he was moved out of state. And now he has administrative and investigative duties, active duties, because ICE can't even conduct their own internal review about whether or not to suspend him because they are waiting for the FBI investigation, which is stalled. Now, the DHS official said this is actually in direct contradiction to what the Department of Justice has told Fox News. They had told Fox News that ICE's Office of Professional Responsibility was, quote, running its own internal review parallel to the FBI investigation, as they would with any officer-related shooting. But these senior officials are telling PunchUp that that is actually not true, that ICE's Internal Affairs Division can't do anything until the FBI probe concludes, and Kash Patel is out there busy doing who knows what, according to The Atlantic, but what he's not doing is his job investigating this officer-related shooting. Perhaps if he had taken this seriously, Kristi Noem had taken this seriously, Alex Preddy would still be alive because, as we know, Alex Preddy was killed and murdered only 17 days later, also by ICE agents. So here you have Jonathan Ross, who was on video shooting Renee Good, still on active duty because the FBI is dragging its heels with the investigation, so much so that Minnesota has actually sued the Department of Justice, saying, and the FBI, saying to hand over the evidence that they have already collected because, of course, they're not cooperating with local law enforcement either, despite the fact that a citizen or multiple citizens are actually looking for evidence in 3 ICE shootings. They are not handing and cooperating any of that, despite the fact that these are residents, citizens of Minnesota. And of course, the state and local officials want to be able to investigate their deaths. Biologica is a drinkable daily supplement that goes well beyond a multivitamin. They brought together a comprehensive vitamin and mineral foundation, probiotics, electrolytes, and clinically researched botanicals all in one drink. No more juggling a handful of pills trying to cover your bases. It is so easy to use. It's a powder. You just mix it with your water and it tastes great. No pills, no complicated routine. It's made with clean ingredients, no added sugar, and developed alongside women's health experts who actually understand how much our nutritional needs change over time. The Midlife Essentials supports sleep quality, mood, mental clarity, and energy, and it contains trademarked, clinically studied ingredients. So head to biologica.com/mistrial to get started. Take their quick hormonal life stage quiz to find the formula that's right for you. And right now, subscribers can receive up to 32% off their purchase. Again, make sure to go to biologica.com/mistrial and get up to 32% off your first subscription order today. Let's for a moment step back here. We have this stunning murder by a federal officer on camera for us all to see, and absolutely nothing being done, except for, of course, calling her a domestic terrorist. Congresswoman Ilhan Omar, who's from the state of Minnesota, spoke to MeidasTouch about the need for accountability, especially in the light of this new report of Jonathan Ross still on active duty. Take a listen.
Congresswoman, what do you make of Jonathan Ross, the ICE agent who killed Renee Nicole Good, being back on duty?
I mean, it's really, really heartbreaking that we can't get accountability and justice for the murder of Renee Good. I do hope that something shifts and that we are able to get accountability for them.
Thank you, Congresswoman.
Now, if you remember back in January, an FBI agent, Tracy Mergen, resigned because instead of being able to open up a civil rights criminal investigation into Jonathan Ross, she was being asked to do so into the victim, Renee Good, and she resigned in protest. And we also saw 6 Department of Justice officials resign rather than treat the victim, Renee Good, as somehow the target, or somehow that there needs to be some sort of investigation into her. So perhaps this is why there's still a slow walking. Of course, justice delayed is justice denied, and that is what they were trying to do. Of course, also, murder doesn't have a statute of limitations, and at some point there will be a new Department of Justice. Not even that we need a Department of Justice. It seems, despite them, Trump and et cetera et al. Trying to say that these ICE agents have absolute immunity, they do not have absolute immunity. It is true that as a federal officer, they can ask to remove their case to federal court. But unless what their actions were a necessary and reasonable part of their jobs, they can be subject to criminal state statutes. His shooting, as we all saw in real time, did not seem reasonable and necessary. I mean, I have followed true crime for many years. I was just in the Nick Reiner hearing. The fact of his continued shooting, despite her car clearly clearing him, and then him cursing at her afterwards, really goes to show intent, state of mind, which is exactly what a prosecutor would need to do to show that his shooting wasn't because of any reasonable belief that he was in harm's way, but he was mad. He was upset with this idea of a protester peacefully telling him that she wasn't mad at him, and him retribution with the shooting. Now, why is it the federal case a civil rights criminal case and not murder, let's say? Now, this is how the federal jurisdiction, it's also what happened actually with the George Floyd case. We had the state criminal case against the police officer there, but we also had the federal court case move forward, which was a civil case, because unless the murder takes place on federal land or violates a specific federal statute, let's say like terrorism, then the federal criminal case that is used to charge a officer, whether or not it's a federal officer or state officer with excessive force, is basically that officer deprived the person of their constitutional due process rights by using that excessive force. And that's why it's a criminal civil rights case and not a murder case. It's not that is not a proper Department of Justice using a civil rights criminal case is proper. It's a murder charge, unless, of course, it's under federal land or something, would be brought by the state. And the state, again, suing, asking for evidence so they can move forward with their own investigation. And here, look how far we have come, that we are having the federal government not being willing to even investigate or move forward their investigation into this officer who murdered an American citizen protesting peacefully on the street, with us all to see, and a majority of Americans watching that video and determining it was excessive force. Those are the types of people who make up juries. And usually a prosecution will bring a charge if they think that they have this, they can meet that standard of proof, which is a high standard of proof. And what the American people are seeing in real time and their opinion of the case often leads into whether or not a case is brought, just as we saw the case brought with the murder of George Floyd, the outcry, because again, the American people are basically a reflection of the juries. And of course, they're getting a conviction there of the police officer responsible for the murder of George Floyd. Here, not that many years later, we're seeing the dragging of the heels by Trump, instead using the DOJ to prosecute Comey for seashells on the sand, instead of Alex Preddy, Renee Good, and all the other ICE shootings and assaults, so many across the country. If you haven't yet subscribed to MeidasTouch YouTube channel, be sure to do that. Subscribe to the Mistrial podcast. Take a listen to us as a podcast wherever you listen to podcasts. Check out the sponsors to the Mistrial podcast. So grateful for our sponsors. Not only do they have great products, but they do not censor what I have to say, which is so critical in this moment.
Want to stay plugged in? Become a subscriber to our Substack at MeidasPlus.com. You'll get daily recaps from Ron Filipkowski, ad-free episodes of our podcast, and more exclusive content only available at MeidasPlus.com.